Well, conservatives pretty much want people to be responsible. Conservatives want to teach people to be respectful of each other, and they want men to be caretakers, and they want men to be responsible for their actions. And that's not
Okay.
being taught a lot anymore. They're not being taught personal responsibility. They go to school, they're being taught to be drones, and all that. That's why we have so many fatherless parents. Welcome to Third Side Convo, the Tiberius Edition.
Again.
Your panelists today are Brandon Berger, Cash Tarbell, Riley Van Dyke, and, oh no, it's Joe Boy. And now, your host, Tiberius Boy.
Yep, that's me today. We're going here again. Third Side Convo, Tiberius Edition. So, this will be really interesting. Today's topic, I've seen that this couple weeks that, I've seen that this past election, young men, kids 18 through 20 years of age, have more voted conservative. And I'm wondering why. So, you know what? Let's ask our panelists today. You know what? Why do you think young men are voting more towards conservative? So you know what? Let's start off with Brandon. Why not? Why do you think that young men are leaning more towards conservative?
Well, I think the issue there is that's I think because with Joe Biden, sorry, with the previous administration, I know.
No.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
With the previous
we do not
administration,
use such profanity on this show. We will skip your turn for now, and we will now move on to Riley Van Dyke because, you know, Brandon had the audacity to say such profanity. So now, Riley, what do you think?
Well, I have a great theory about this. Well, COVID severely damaged the men's psyche. We turned away. We had our freedoms taken. We had an administration that was incredibly on the attack towards men, not just white men, but black men of all ages and races. It's very clear to me now that that men need a voice, and I think the current administration is providing that. However, I think it's even deeper than that. There is a as for me as a Christian, right? I've seen a dramatic increase in young people going to church because they want to find meaning, they want to find hope, they want to find peace. And as a churchgoer my whole life, I was always like seeing that like kids weren't going to the church and like conservative values were kind of out the window. I think with the shift in the whole podcast movement, how everyone kind of went super right, trying to change the whole dynamic a little bit, has influenced a lot of people as well too, especially young men. I myself included. So yeah. I mean, that's just a good start.
Okay, I'll have to cut you off there, but that was great. Now, Cash, because we're still skipping Brandon, what do you think?
Okay, I also think that since COVID, the job pool has been limited, and then the conservatives promise to help that a little bit more than the Democrats do. Also, the conservatives have used social media a lot more than the Democrats. The Democrats have just stayed like very traditional, which might have helped. Like the younger people are in social media like almost 24/7, and they're trying to like appeal to them through like any way possible, like podcasts, YouTube videos, anything that's on social media that could be possible.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to my dear father, who's doing something on his computer. So you know what? What do you think, Dad?
Well, you know what? I think there is a lot of young men moving to the conservative movement, partly because they've been torn down and told that if they're masculine, they're bad. If they are masculine, it's toxic masculinity. And anything that is manly is bad. And when you have a party that keeps telling them they're bad and keeps telling them that, they need to be replaced, and keeps telling them they need to be more feminine, and it keeps telling them, let's promote the men going in women's sports. Let's do this. Everything seems to be geared towards men being bad. I think that really makes it easy for someone to say, you know what, maybe I should look what the other guy has. Maybe the other side has something different.
Okay, well, now we're actually going to somehow give Brandon a chance. So, what do you think? Without saying the word of any politician.
I will promise to be on my best behavior this time. Okay, so first off, I think, yes, COVID was kind of a shock to the system for everybody. Everybody got locked down and locked into place, and it wasn't necessarily men exclusively. It was everybody. And I think we kind of had a shift in priorities as we were recovering from that, because the first step was making sure people were healthy enough to be out of their homes. The next step was making sure the workplace was safe enough for people to go back and be in places with physically with people. Same thing with the schools. But Joe Boy made a questionable point about the breakdown of masculinity. But my question then is this: is like, what does conservative values have to do with masculinity in that sense? Like, where's the connection there?
Well, Dad, would you like to answer?
Well, conservatives pretty much want people to be responsible. Conservatives want to teach people to be respectful of each other, and they want men to be caretakers, and they want men to be responsible for their actions. And that's not being taught a lot anymore. They're not being taught personal responsibility. They go to school, they're being taught to be drones, and all that. That's why we have so many fatherless parents.
Well, then you have that issue. Well, that's an interesting thing you brought up. School
Or
being
fatherless
taught
children.
to
My
be
bad.
mindless drones. You have these. You're saying your education is essentially teaching people to be mindless drones. That's an interesting point, considering Tiberius and Cash are in that school system that you're referring to. But then
they both went to private school. Nice try, though. They went to private school.
Well, no. But
I went to public.
For a little bit. There you
go. There you go. But so then coming back to what I was going to say, like, you made a good point about conservative values focused on people doing for themselves, being independent, having minimal involvement from outside forces. But then you said about men providing for their families. Now, we're in a world today, we have been in a world like this for decades, where it's not up to just one parent anymore to take care of the family. I mean, you show me a family with you show me a one income household, I'll show you someone who's in that higher percentage, who's making a few $100,000 a year and can afford as such. I see with my own clients all the time, single parents, not just single mothers, but single fathers as well, with like 1, 2, 3 kids, who aren't making that kind of money and are still expected to primarily provide. Now, fatherless parents, fatherless children, I do agree with you on that. There are a lot of fatherless children in America today. I'm not going to disagree with that. I know I'm seeing the clock to wrap it up. I know. My point is that I'm not seeing where like there's a fine line between masculinity and conservative values. Yes, if a conservative value is that men primarily have to take care of the family and the home, like, why is it bad if both parents are taking care of the home and the family?
Okay. So what role, I'm going to ask a question now. What role does social media, for example, YouTube, TikTok, podcasts of any kind, play in, shaping young men's political views? Let's start off with Riley. Why not?
Well, thank you, Mr. Bob, not not Bob Phipps. So, it's a good question. I am actually a little bit on the center when it comes to this whole social media thing. I wish that Democrats would have a little bit more of an attempt to try to modernize their 21st century kind of tactics, because I like discourse. I think it's the best way forward. I think that what happened was a distinct shift, including Elon Musk, that really kind of polarized the whole dynamic a little bit, and kind of swayed the opinion about a lot of these kind of affluent podcasters, and the Democrats haven't had a challenger at all to this. So I don't like things that are not unchecked. I think it's part of our wonderful democracy to have checks and balances. And I feel like the whole social media thing is very, very skewed in the right, almost to the point of far right and fascism, because you can start to see a little bit, like when you go on Instagram or Twitter or X now, you start seeing things that I would have never thought in a million years would ever have a resurgence. And that concerns me. So I'm a little bit wary of that, because I feel like we need to, Democrats need to have that kind of check, but you also got to appeal to everybody, including young men, because that's the next generation. And if you start just going on and on and on about, why women should shower with boys or vice versa, or play their sports, and it's like, well, whatever the case may be, it's just there needs to be a distinction about, or at least a discourse about what needs to have happen, and I think social media is definitely having a huge impact on the conservative movement. And I think that with the help of Elon and all these other people, it has titanically shifted the whole thing to the right. So yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, well, we're going to have to stop you there. We are going to get to the others, perspectives about the social media question, but we do have to go to a commercial break. So please do follow Third Side Convo on YouTube, Facebook, all of that great, amazing stuff. And I believe we're starting on Instagram now, if I'm right or wrong. I can't tell, because I'm not the host of the show, but who knows? You know what? Just look up anywhere you want for thirdsideconvo.com, and you know what? Just subscribe if you please can. So, thank you very much.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810. The Tiberius Show would like to thank Boggy Creek Airboat Adventures for being one of our sponsors. I got to go on an airboat and saw a real gator. I even got to go to the gem mine and mine for some gems. We ate a steak dinner at the restaurant and even got some gator rights. If you want to have a blast with the entire family, I suggest you go to www.bcairboats.com right now to get your tickets today. The website again is bcairboats.com.
And, well, we're back, and we're here with not Bob Phipps. My name is Tiberius Boy, and this is the Tiberius version of Third Side Convo today. Well, Cash just got back from getting his water, I believe, so you know what? Let's ask him about the question that we were just asking earlier. What role does social media, for example, YouTube and all that stuff, play in shaping young men's political views? Cash, go ahead.
Well, I feel like social media, a lot of people are on it. And even our parents or grandparents are starting to accept it, but mainly young people are the ones on social media. Social media, it just it affects how you view the world, because there are a lot of convincing things on there, and they would change your viewpoint on political or any viewpoint that you have if you're really researching it. So I think that the Republicans have used it a lot to their advantage against the the Democratic administration because they sorry. They
Go ahead.
they use social media while the Democrats haven't as much.
Okay. So now we're gonna go back to the right side. Father, what do you think?
Oh, I guess I should change my name to say father on there. Well, I'll tell you, I think social media is a double-edged sword. I think both sides are using it. I find a lot of times that I'm invited to groups that are liberal in base, and it's a constant barrage, as if for some reason they think I'm a liberal, and they say, oh, you believe this, you believe this. And you're seeing that being sent, and a lot of my friends are getting sent that too, saying, hey, listen, if this is what we're going to get bombarded with, it will slowly change people's beliefs. And so it is happening on both sides. Left and right are both doing that. And I believe that young males are seeing a lot of this stuff. It is being done. But I think a lot of the time they're being dissed by the liberal side. I think they're being told all the time how they're just not good enough. And I think that's being occurred in social media all the time. Since they're being told they're not good enough, guess what? They're just going to go see what the other guy has to say. And I think the other side's working for them because they're saying, hey, we want you to be empowered. We want you to have personal responsibility. We want you to take care of people. We want you to do good. And I think we're missing that. We're missing the freedom of, you can do anything you want. You can be crazy and all this stuff. And that's kind of not really what they're looking for.
Well, Brandon's thinking over there and nodding his head up and down, or left to right. I can't tell anymore. I'm too far away from the screen. But you know what? Let's see what he has to think.
Well, okay, so we've talked about this in a previous episode about social media, and it really is, the thing about social media is that information is coming and going so quickly. And it's everything's moving at the speed of the internet. First, something is true, then 5 minutes later, it's not true. Then 5 minutes later, it's true again, or it is partially true, but some crucial detail was left out the first time it was said. As for conservative movements using social media more, I mean, yes, more people are being emboldened to put conservative values out on the internet, but mostly because it's the internet. Everything's on the internet. And now, I will say, with the whole Elon Musk and X, running X, and letting conservative values kind of run rampant further and further to the right, I mean,
did you see rampant easy, like it's a bad thing?
I mean, it's easy to control the flow of water when you're the one holding the spigot.
I agree.
I'm just saying.
Okay, so we're now going to move on to another question, which is what issues are driving young men towards the Conservative Party? For example, free speech, economic opportunity, and identity politics, which is basically just gender identities and what's going on in that world. So, Riley, would you like to talk about it?
I would love to. Like I said before, I think it really boils down to trying to figure out where do men have their place in this society. And I think like I said it again, the COVID thing really, it was not everybody, but I think that it just emboldened the wrong type of party, the wrong type of politics a little bit. It was very, looking down. I do think that there is a movement that is going on that, especially with a guy named Charlie Kirk, that is going to these universities and just lambasting people. It's quite impressive, this level of skill that this guy has, whether his views are right or not right. This guy is there's a more of a grassroots movement that's happening, directed towards young men, especially, and they're going to where it counts, and it's like when you start weighing, like, who, like, where's the challenger? Where's the left challenger that's going to sway all of these young men when you have somebody that's just like emboldening them with propaganda or with facts? It's very, it's very interesting to see. I mean, like, it's just like until you get that challenger, I don't see it. You know, it's just going to keep going right.
Okay, well then that does also beg the question, how significant is the influence of online influencers? For example, Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, which you mentioned, on young male political identity. I mean, what is the influence of it? Let's start with Cash, because I'm sure he has something to say on this.
Some of the celebrities or influencers that maybe influence people, some people who are diehard fans might believe anything that they'll say, like diehard Taylor Swift fans or something like that. They would go anywhere, any way that she would. And then that would like convince people otherwise without their own views, which could be a problem.
Okay.
And then,
Go ahead.
okay. And then sometimes, like, okay. So, sometimes some people like online will try their hardest to convince people to switch sides or something like that with like propaganda or something. And they could either get swayed left or right, mainly right now, because I feel like a lot more on the right side than the left side right now, but that could be soon to change. Who knows?
Okay. Joe Boy, what would you think?
If I received $1 for every person that I convinced to switch sides on Facebook, I'd still be broke. No one's switching because of something I said on Facebook. Sorry, it's not happening. Now, I will say I am a very big fan of Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is amazing. He has some strength and eloquence in his conversation. He's able to speak to young men in particular and try to let them know it's okay to be a man. It is acceptable to be a man. It is a good thing to want to make sure to be responsible and have responsibility for your actions. It is a good thing to be accountable for what you do. And that is missing in our society, and he is trying to bring that back. Ben Shapiro is one of the other ones you said. That one's a tough one because he's fun and enjoyable to watch, but he's very abrasive in how he talks. So some people like him. I like his debate skills, but he can be kind of a dick. And so it's like, it's a tough one. He's having more fun cutting people down than giving facts. Charlie Kirk is a mix in between. I love how Charlie Kirk is very good at debate, but also he comes up with a lot of facts. He spits them out. He follows them up with support. But on the other side, he is trying to make a difference. So for me, Jordan Peterson is much better at it. And I will tell every kid, Cash, I'm talking to you too, listen to a little bit of what Jordan Peterson has and see, maybe you might like a little bit of what he has to say, because he talks a little bit about a personal responsibility, and I think it's an amazing thing.
Is this a direct attack? Man. Well, Brendan, what do you think?
So, first off, I do want to agree with Joe Boy, and this Robert Peterson guy seems to make a lot of good points about personal accountability, and it's okay to be masculine. But here's the thing, it's okay to be masculine. Great. Go to the gym. You can go to the gym, get ripped out your muscles and provide for your family. Of course. But there's that slippery slope into further and further to the right, where that conservative value of providing for your family suddenly becomes refusing to let your wife help you provide for your family. Because that's that slippery slope. I feel like Ben Shapiro goes in that direction. I've heard clips of him here and there, but I feel like he's going in that direction. And coming back to what Riley said about Charlie Kirk going around to campuses and just being the louder voice. So, yes, the other side has not had necessarily a challenger who can effectively raise their voice above that, because I feel like people on the left feel like they're a little too dignified to really get to that level, and just be like, oh, you're being loud, but you're also spewing nonsense. It's like, we want to give you facts, but we don't want to be loud about it.
Well, D'Angelo is one that goes to campuses and all that. And she does that for the left, but she also doesn't get death threats, and no one threatens to kill her, and they don't stand and boycott and protest her thing. The conservatives just let her talk. I don't know if it's the same the other way around, but
I think then it's a question of extremity of values. That's the thing. If there's an extremity of values going one way or the other, I mean, again, I agree with you, Joe Boy. A conservative value of masculinity, of like being accountable for your actions, taking care of your family. That's great. Appreciate that. But again, it's that slippery slope further and further to the right. And well, I know. Second point about I wanted to come back to that subject of influencers. Because my son watches YouTube all the time, and he watches a lot of YouTube personalities and what have you. And I keep starting to question: is the influencer influencing other people, or are they being influenced? Because all they do on YouTube is go along with other trends that are already happening.
Okay, well, we should now move on to our last commercial break. Please, like, subscribe, ring that bell for Third Side Convo. This isn't my own show. That's too bad. Search them up on Facebook. Go to the website thirdsideconvo.com if you're willing to, search up some more. And, I hope y'all have a great day. But we'll
Corona
be right
Cigar
back.
Company is your one-stop shop for all your cigar needs. Whether that's a brand new humidor, a box of those new cigars you've been waiting for, a top-of-the-line cutter or lighter, a place to enjoy the finest cigars and spirits with friends, or the only cigars grown right here in the Sunshine State, we've got you covered. Come visit one of our retail locations for the ultimate cigar experience. Visit us online at coronacigar.com.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
And we are back. So this last segment of the show is where we all try to talk about friendships and what we agree with the other side. Now, we only do have about 3 minutes in order to, fully do this. So we're going to start with Riley, then go to Cash, go to Brandon, then my dad. And we're just going to go really quick thing about what you thought that you agree with from the other side. So Riley, what do you think?
I like Brandon and Cash. They're very smart people.
I don't know about what they said.
Oh. Well, I like what Brandon was saying about how it's so important to just look at all the facts, and I think what he was saying is, I can't rattle it off on the whim, but I do see that we have a lot of common ground. Yeah.
Okay, well, Cash, your turn.
I like some of the points that your dad made. Like, even though he attacked me, I thought it was a pretty good attack.
Okay.
And I also liked a lot of the points that Riley made.
Okay. So, Brandon?
I definitely think we all found some common ground today with conservative values and how core conservative values and core concepts of masculinity are not something to be really afraid of.
Okay. And lastly, my dad. I'm sure you thought of something to agree with, hopefully. What do you think?
I actually did not attack Cash. I was trying to give him some advice to listen to Jordan Peterson. I think that both Brandon and Cash had some good concepts. I do understand where they're coming from. And that, I think, is the important part, is that I understand that both sides have a lot of things. Social media is a big game changer in the political world. And I think we need to look at it seriously and try to be responsible in what we're viewing. And find what appeals to you and what blends to your ideology and not just what other people say.
Okay, and well, we're now going to wrap up the show. This is about the end of the show. So please follow us on Facebook, find us on YouTube, please subscribe, thirdsideconvo.com. It's all great stuff. And please, wait, there's more. Please do go ahead and watch all of our other shows. There are tons of them. One's about social media, book banning. I know I'm in that one as a panelist. You should definitely watch those. But you know what? Hope you all have a great day. Our panelists were great today. Thank you very much, and see you next week.